So, hello everyone. I think we are good to start, and I've put this session on recording also. Okay. So, yesterday we have seen like few of the attacks and based on the Owasp top 10, and today we'll be seeing the leftovers like what all things we have left like SQL injections and basically the file upload. So I'll request you to mute all of you. We'll have a QA session after this session for around 5 to 10 minutes or whatever time it will take. So we'll have the QA session afterwards. So let us start with this session. Okay. So first of all, let me just introduce myself for the newcomers. So, well, this is Abhishek this side. I'm an InfoSec consultant, worked for various major MNCs and consultings. So I've done my certifications as CEH, CISP, and moreover, I'm certified in IoT security from University of California and wireless security professional from Yonsei University, that is in Japan. And I've presented in various of the conferences such as DEF CON and all. And the latest, I have submitted my research work for WhatsApp and Zomato. Apart from it, I have spoken in IIT Delhi in 2015 on the same vulnerabilities in the WhatsApp, and my bug bounties are from Tata, from Paytm, and moreover from Lenovo, and all those things. So this was just the briefing about me, and talking about this session, we will be like doing first of all the SQL injection, like what exactly the SQL injection is all about. So let us just start with that. Actually, yesterday what we have studied is how the web application architecture used to work out. So let me just quickly recall that architecture and let us see like how that architecture itself is having a flaw inside it. So first of all, am I audible to all of you? You can type your message yes or no, anyone. Okay, fine. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting the messages. Thank you. Thanks for the consent. And we'll be starting up with a brief introduction. So, yesterday, as we have discussed, uh, like what exactly the web application is and what is the difference between the web application and a website. So, not taking that much deep, like just to brief out for the newcomers, let us suppose this is the web application. Austin, uh, others are hearing the voice. I don't know why you're not hearing. Uh, everyone else, I'm clear with it. The voice. Okay. Might be Austin. You can reconnect. Actually, this is the premium, so it's not like. Yeah, Austin, you can call from the mobile also. If you are in India, we are having the Indian numbers, and if you are in US, you can call from the US numbers. Okay, fine. So talking about the application, as I yesterday also I told you the application. Let us suppose this is the web application which we are having. Every application is having two parts inside it. First of all, so one which we call it as a UI or the user interface, where the user is responsible to means interact with that particular interface. Then we have the backend web application, or which we call it as a core web application, or whatever we want to call it. Okay, and then we have one more thing, which today we'll be discussing much more, the vulnerabilities about that. That is our database. Okay. So yesterday, as I explained you the hierarchy. So for those who have missed out the yesterday's session, they can have the recording on my blog also. We have posted the recording and the requested POCs for XSS tunneling. and all we have posted up over there, so you can have the advanced version of XSL and how XSS, and how you can interact with the system command using XSS. So that is also posted in the POC, so you can download it from there. And so today we'll be talking about this particular part, that is our database. So our backend web application is responsible to communicate with the database and to fetch out the values and to provide it to the user interface. Now there is one more thing which we call it as a user. Okay. So user, he'll be just be interacting with the user interface. It doesn't matter like from where the data is coming or from where it is being fetched out or how the internal cycles are moving out. So it is means just the user is familiar with the user interface. Let's suppose we visit any of the shopping portal, such as our Amazon. So we are just familiar with the Amazon front end. Like we are just visiting the Amazon, we are selecting the product, we are getting out the product. So it doesn't matter so from which database server the billing is happening or from which warehouse the product is coming to us. So that is all the part of the backend and the means supply team and all those things, which whoever is responsible to manage the database and means to manage that warehouse and all those things. So that is an entirely different part. User is not bothered about that. So what if but the request which is coming out, it will be coming out from the user itself. Okay. So let us suppose the application is having let us suppose the login. So user will be passing out his or her credentials into the user interface. Okay, let us say the user is passing out his username and password to the user interface, and after that it is being sent up to the backend, and it has been processed like, okay, either this username and password is present inside the database or not. Okay, if it is present, it will give you the login. If it is not present, if it will give you some sort of error. Okay, any sort of error like username not present, or you're not a valid user, or you need to sign up or something like that. So how that entire mechanism is working out, whenever a user provides his or her credentials to the web application, it is being checked up inside the database, and it means the values will be reverted back to the user interface. So whenever the database will be reverting back, it will never send the credentials out of the database. It will always send the Boolean values. Okay, it will always send the Boolean values. Okay, which will be either in the terms of 0 or 1. Okay, where the 0 stands for false and 1 stands for true. Which means whenever the user is logging, so that means that the username is present, username and password is present and correct, then it will result out with a true value. Okay, this user is genuine, so we'll provide him the login. And if this particular thing is not present, if the username, password, or the credentials passed by the user is not present, then it will be sending up the false value, like the username and password doesn't exist, so the user needs to sign up or the user needs to reset the password. So that is how the entire mechanism is working out. But if you notice that there is a flaw inside it. Whenever the user is passing out a particular thing, it will be traveling up to the database in the form of queries. In the form of queries, it will be reaching up over here, and then it will be executing, and then the values will be returning back. Okay. So what if a user enters a query itself? What if a user enters a query itself, and that query will always returns us to the true value itself? Okay, so let us see like how we can manipulate the database thing. First of all, we will be seeing up manually how we can do that. Then we will be seeing up like how we can do it in terms of like automated manners using some tools and all. Okay, so here is one of our vulnerable application which we have set up, that is DVWA. So what we are going to do is this DVW is having three or four sections like low, medium, high, and impossible. So today we'll be in this particular session we'll be considering only the low level vulnerabilities, or where it is very much easy to fetch out the database, but complexities will increase as per the upcoming session. So in the upcoming session we will not be using this DVWA, we'll be using something else, okay, with a more complex vulnerability. So this is just for the beginners, so just to make you familiar, so we are going with this. Okay, fine. It is working out. Okay, so as I told you, like it is having a low, medium, high vulnerability. So today we'll be going up with the low ones only. So let me just clear up the cache. Okay, so let us suppose generally we talk about the Sql injection. So here we have the user ID column. So here the user will be entering up anything. So if suppose user enters up anything, let's say I'm entering the user ID as Abhishek, it is not present. So it will not return us any value, or if it is programmed in such a manner to return some error, it will return us some error. Now let us say I entered 1. Okay, so the very first row of a database, it has fetched out and it has given us the user ID 1 is having the username, the first name as admin and the surname as admin. We'll enter 2. The first name is Gordon and the surname is Brown. So like that, if we enter the username, if we enter the user ID, it will provide us some details. Okay, so like that it is programmed and it will return us the values. Okay, now let us suppose we want to fetch out all the values out of this particular database, or wherever this particular insertion point is there. Insertion point basically is the thing where the user can insert something in an application. Let us suppose we are having a search box, so that is also an insertion point in any of the application. So let us say here if we want to enter, so let me enter a query first of all, then I'll explain you what it is. Okay, so I entered this query and I got all the list of the whatever data is present in the entire table. So I got that particular thing. So now how this particular thing happened, let me just explain you that thing. Okay, so let me just quickly open up the notepad. Okay, so this is the query which I entered up. Okay, now taking each token of the query one by one, and then I'll explain you that thing. So the very first thing which we notice is this one. Okay, which seems to be a percentage symbol, but it will probably in the database structure it will be considered as anything. Anything means like we are having asterisk for all. Okay, let's say select asterisk from tab, or select star from tab, or whatever you call it. So it's like similarly we have the meaning here, that is our percentage. Okay, if you don't enter percentage, you can simply enter this single quote also. Okay, after this what we have entered up is this particular query. if you notice, we are having the left hand side and the right hand side of this query. Okay, so if you notice, first of all, let us just take the left hand side part. So we have anything or zero. Okay, so zero is basically nothing but a false value, or you can say anything or zero. Okay, and here we have used a operator, that is or. Okay, or is basically an operator in Boolean terms. If you have noticed out the truth table of or, it will come to be like this. Okay, where if any of the value is true, it will return out the true value, or if any of the value is false, it will return out the false value. Okay, so false or false means if both the values are false, it will return out the false value. So if both the values are false, it will return out the false value. Okay, and if one value is true, it will return out the true value. If both the values are true, then also it will be returning out the true value. So this is basically the truth table of the or operator. Okay, so now here, taking up the left hand side, we have anything or 1 or 0. Okay, anything or 0 we are having. Means anything means it can be either 1. Okay, so if anything is there, so anything or 0, anything or false, it will always return out to be true value. Okay, and on the right hand side we are equating it with the 0, which means the false value. Okay, so if we notice that it is coming out to be this particular expression, that is 1 or 0, that is true or false, which is always a true statement. So ultimately this will always return the true statement. Okay, so once this is returning out to be the true statement, if you notice that whenever we are passing out this query to the database, it is always returning out in the Boolean terms. Okay, if it is a Boolean terms and if it is returning out the true statement, that means the user is genuine, user is authentic, and he will be able to log in, or he will be able to fetch out the data. So that is what we have done over here. We have put this query and we are clicking on submit. It depends, like it depends on your logic. It doesn't it's not necessary like this particular query will work out, okay, everywhere. Okay, it depends on your certain logics, like how you implement the query, how you trigger out the database to return the true value. Okay, so this is just a basic example. Now we have just fetch out the value from the one of the table. Now we want to know about all the things. All means the entire database we want to fetch out, like how many tables it is having, what all things means we want to fetch out the data from other tables also. Let's say we are having a username password table. So from that table also we need to fetch out the values. So how we can do that thing? Let us just quickly have a look on that. So to do that thing, first of all, we need to know the version, which version of the database is currently running out. Okay, so for that we'll be using a union statement. Okay, union, and then we will not be selecting out anything. Select null, and with this we'll be sending out a version function. Okay, version function, and we'll be sending out this thing. Okay, now if we trigger out this thing, let us see what we'll get. We didn't get anything. I think I made a mistake in the query. Okay, percentage or 0 equal to 0, Means it depends like how you trigger out, how you make out the query. 0 equal to 0, it is perfect, and then we are running out of version. Okay, fine. Okay, so on the very last, you will see that we got all the things, but on the very last, you can see that we got some surname is equal to this, and the first name is empty. Okay, which means that this is the particular version of the database. Okay, so our database is running on this version, the last row which is displaying out this thing. The query which we have entered up is this one, not this one. Yeah, it's this one. Okay. Okay, so this is the query which we have entered up. As it was not taking the values in the string format, so I removed the single quotes. Okay, I provided it the numeric values. Okay, so numerically it will be 0 is always equal to 0, so it is a true statement. Okay, and anything or true is always a true. Okay, so and after this we'll be selecting up, means we are not selecting out anything, so union select null, and just we are calling up a version method, so which is returning out the version of this particular database. Okay, now the next thing what we are going to do is, like we want to display, let's say, the user of it. Okay, so if we want to display the user, we'll want to call a user method. Okay, because by going to the hierarchy, first of all we need to know the version, then we need to know which user is using that particular database, then we'll be fetching out the database, and then we'll be fetching out the tables, then we'll be fetching out the data inside it. Okay, so like that hierarchy we'll be following up. Okay, now if you go to the very last, after clicking this user, after calling this user method, you can see that we are having this root at the rate localhost, means the root user is accessing this particular database running on the local host. Okay, running on the same machine itself. Okay, so that is how it is fetching out. Now let us say we want to know like which database from which database. Let us say one server can have different databases inside it, and a single database can have different tables inside it. Okay, so as I yesterday also I told you about the hierarchy, so now just we want to know like which database is having, or which database is being called up by this application. Okay, so just we want to know that, so we'll be using a method that is a database. Okay, currently I'm not dealing with the server, I'm just querying out from the application and I'm fetching out the values. Okay, so the last thing which you can see that we got it as a dvwa. Okay, so that is your database which is which this particular application is accessing. Okay, now I just want to display whatever tables are present in this particular database. Okay, whatever the tables are there inside this database, so to do that I need to fetch out the information schema. Information schema is just as your metadata in your system. It's the same. Just a second. Okay. So information schema is basically what I was telling you is same as your metadata. Okay. So I just want to fetch out that information schema, and in the information schema, I just want to fetch out the tables. Okay. What all tables are present inside that particular database. Okay, so let me just start the queries because it will be bit tricky uh, to query this information schema. Okay, so I just want the table name. Please mute yourself. Okay. So in this, I just want the table name. Okay. And from where I want to fetch out the table name. Okay. I cannot fetch out directly from the database server. Okay. I cannot run the database server commands. Okay. I'll be fetching it out from the information schema. Okay. Okay. So this is the particular query to fetch out the values from the information schema. Okay. So you can see that if you go down, you can see that we have all this as the tables. The guest book, the user, the column private, the event, okay, and the servers, okay. So these all are the tables which we have fetched up. Okay. So the first thing it showed us the usernames, okay, and then it is showing up the tables, the table names. Okay, so that is how we'll be fetching out this particular table names from the information schema. Now the thing is like here I put up this information schema as information underscore schema, but some of the databases or some of the things might have configured where this name must be changed up. Okay, so this name either it can be info schema or some sort of schema will be there. It depends on the database admin, like how he puts up the information schema inside the database. Okay, so this thing can be changed up. So this thing you need to hit and try and find out like which is the information schema table present in the database. Okay, but the first thing is if you get the insertion point, you can easily find out all other things also. Okay, but generally it will be default information schema only, and most of the people don't change it out. Okay, now we'll be displaying out all the user table in the information schema. Okay, like as you can see up over here, we have one table which we are pretty much interested to fetch out the data, that is your user table. See here, so the user tables can have the username and password for all other users. Okay, so we can fetch out the data inside the user table. So how to do that, let us just have a look on that. Okay, now let me just put that query, schema.tables. Okay, after this I'll be putting a clause, that is where clause, where table underscore name. Okay, like is another clause which we'll be putting up to match a certain string. Okay, user, and then after user it can be anything. I'll explain you this query, how it's working out. Okay, so the surname here, it is the user. Okay, now what we are displaying is all the tables that are starting with the prefix user. Okay, user table, users, and user. So these three are there. So we are just interested in the user tables. Okay, now the query which we have put up, let me just explain you that thing. type it once again. Okay, let me just type it once again. Okay, so after this particular query, we are putting up a where clause. Those who are not getting this out, like how this particular we are fetching out the values, there is a very simple and an automated manner to do this. Okay, just with a one click you can do fetch out all the data from the database. You can fetch out the username password that we'll be seeing after this. But first of all, to understand your logics, like how this particular thing works on the back end, we are just going with the manual injections. Okay, otherwise we'll take up the automated session, so within a one click you can fetch out all the data from the database. Okay, so what we are going to do up over here is we'll be putting up information schema dot tables, and we'll be putting up a where clause. Okay, where clause, and we'll be putting up a table name and like user, and after user it can be anything. Okay, so this is the query which we got. So what we are doing up over here is we are searching out the information schema, and in the information schema we are searching out tables. Okay, in the information schema we are searching out for the tables, and in the tables where the table name is like user, means where the table name is starting up with user, after user it can be anything. Okay, so give out this result. Okay, so these three are the tables which we got at the very last, that is user privileges, users, and user. So now we are just interested up in the users table. Okay, interested up in the users table. Now we want to fetch out all the columns present inside the users table. Okay, now to do this we need to put up a very long query. Let me just type it up over here. Okay, I'll explain you what that particular query is. These queries you need to build up by yourself. You can type here anything like 1 equal to 1 or 1 equal to 0 or anything. Means the entire this thing should result out with the true value. That's it. Means that's up to your logic, means how you put up that thing. Okay. So select null. Okay. And after this will be we need to concat the table name. So we'll be using a concat method. Let's say table underscore name, and then we after this table name we want to have one gap of one line. So for that thing, like slash n is there, so here we can use the hexa format. Okay, and then we want to have the column name, and then we'll be closing out this method, concat method, and we'll be selecting out from information schema, because every value will be fetching out from information schema only. And from information schema, now we need to fetch out, instead of table, we need to fetch out the column. Okay, columns, and where Now we need to again we put up the where clause, so we need to provide up the table name. Table name, and which is equal to the user table, which we have which we came to know from the previous command. After this we put up hash. Hash is basically whatever statement, if it is hard coded inside the application, it will be commented out with this hash. Let me try up with this command if it works out or not. Okay, works out. User, okay. So these are the columns which we got. The user ID, the first name, the last name, the user, and we are having one interesting column inside it, that is our password. Okay, the password column which is there. Okay, now let us see like how we can fetch out the entire values out of this particular table. Okay, uh, don't worry, whosoever is not getting this, we'll be having an automated tool, so we'll be using that and we'll be fetching out the entire database. But just to aware with this thing, like how on the back end it used to work, you must be aware with these things. Okay, so we'll be modifying this particular statement only. So let us see like how it used to work out. Let it be same, the because this one will be returning out the true, then we'll be selecting uh, the which we got it as the first name, last name, which we got as a, we just want the first name, so we'll be typing out the first name, and what we got another is the last name also we got. Okay, the first name, and we want the last name also. Okay, and after this again we want /n, and then after this what else we want from the table. Got the user. Okay, and then after that again we got again we need a /n, and again what else we need is the password. Okay, password from now here we need to change out something. Instead of all this we'll be getting out the value from the users table. Okay, so this makes up our command, and let me just execute it. Okay, fine. So perfectly it worked out, and you can see that we got the username, we got the password. Okay, now remember one thing, whenever we are storing up the password inside the database, so due to the database security countermeasures, it will always store up in the hash format. Okay, so it will be always storing up the values in the hash format, and it will never store up in this format, like your normal format. So it is just an MD5 hash of your particular thing. So let me just try to decrypt it. Okay, if it can be. So let me just copy it, and we'll be using a tool that is John the Ripper to decrypt it. Okay, let me just paste out the values over here. And let me just save it with any name. Let's say on the desktop itself, I save it with the name of pass underscore Khandon. Okay, so I saved it. Now let me just use up a tool that is your John the Ripper, and we'll try to break this particular thing. Let me just navigate to desktop. Okay. Or what we can do is we can directly use the okay. So we can use the John from here. So it is the John the Ripper. So I think there is some mismatch in my Kali machine, so it is not working out. Okay, but anyways, it used to work out. Um, it's not working out. Okay, it's already there. So let me just go to my desktop. And the type of the text which is stored up is MD5. So we'll be using a format that is your raw MD5. and then we'll be providing up the password dot txt. Okay, it has loaded up. Okay, now it will try to compare with all other keys. Okay, it is trying to compare with all other keys, and it will give us the password once it is cracked up. Okay, so this is how you can decode the password. Okay, and you can see once it is decoded out, but it will take a long time to decode this value, or else you must have a very good system to decode this particular thing. Okay, so let it just decode it, or what I can do is, like, I can show you the easiest method to do this thing. Okay, so I hope that all of you are clear with this particular attack, like how we can yeah, you can decode with a burp, but burp doesn't support the MD5 decryption, because MD5 is a one-way encryption standard. So MD5 is not having that particular decode option. Okay, so what it is doing is, MD5 is also having its own database. Let us say, I'll explain you what it is, how the particular MD5 used to work. It's just for the example. Okay, like how the one-way encryption used to work out. Let's say my name is Abhishek. Okay, what I'll do, let us say for the one-way encryption, let us say I just encoded it to binary. So let us say this is my encoded form of binary. So anyone who is having this binary number can reverse back to the Abhishek. Okay. Now let us say the encoded binary number. What I do is, I just did the ones complement of it. Okay. So after getting the ones complement, let's say my value is 101 or something like that. Okay. Now what I did is, I just perform to make it more secure. I just perform the twos complement. Okay, and the value which I got after twos complement, let's say, is something this. Okay, now if anyone is having out this value, can easily get back to this value. Okay, by having this value, he can perform the twos complement, he can perform the ones complement, he can convert to ASCII, and he can convert to binary, and he can get that value. Okay, now to store inside the database, let us suppose I reverse this particular entire string. Okay, let us say I'm having one more function I applied, that is reverse this particular string. Okay, so once reversing out this string, let us suppose I got this value. Now also it can be easily decrypting, means encoding is not at all the proper solution for making this particular thing more secure. Okay, so what I did is, I just removed the half part of it. Okay, removed half part of it. Okay, so once the half part is removed, I'm left out with this part. Okay, left out with this part, and ultimately this part will be stored up inside my database. Okay, and the half part which was left was deleted. Okay, now if I give you this string, this particular string, nobody in this entire world can come back to this string with this string, because half part is not known. Okay, so that is how the one-way encryption used to work. This is just a simple phenomena which I have explained you, but it doesn't happen in this way. There are different sort of mechanism which has been applied. Okay, it passed out from a different layers of boxes like black boxes, and then it will be stored up inside the database. Okay, so just for the simple way of explanation, I explained you this thing. So let us say I stored this part in the database. Now suppose a user comes. Okay, if a user comes and log in, he knows that my password is Abhishek. He logged in with this. Okay, and my password was this. Okay, with capital A and small a. Okay, so with a small a, he won't be getting out this exactly the same value. Okay, he'll be getting out something else. Let's say this. Okay, so this particular we call it as a hash value. Okay, so now that is how in the hashing tables, every value, let's say admin is having out some value. Let's say admin is having this value. Okay, so for admin it is storing up this thing, and for the password it is storing up some other thing. And so what the John the Ripper is doing is it is just matching out, it is just making out the hash, and it is just matching out with that hash which we saved in our this password.txt file. Okay, if that same hash is matched up, that means that is the particularly the password. If it is not matched up, we cannot get that password. So that is the one-way encryption which I explained to you. Okay, now coming back to our topic, how to do it in a very simplest manner. Okay, in an automated manner to perform the SQL injection. Okay, so let me just quickly clear up all the strings. Null is basically we are not selecting out anything. Okay, null is basically we are not selecting out with anything. Let's say here we have this. So as you can see that the first we are getting the first name, surname, and then we are having union select null. Okay, that means we are not selecting out after this the first name and the surname. We are not selecting out anything, and we are just concatenating, and we are just performing the operation. Okay, means we are clubbing up with something. We require a proper query, proper syntax to be worked out. So to work out with the proper syntax, let's say if you have worked on C, then means without including those two header files, conio and stdio, we cannot have a printf and scanf. Okay, so in the similar manner, without this union, we cannot execute the entire query. So we need to include the union either by selecting nothing or by selecting out something. Okay, so here we are selecting out nothing, but we are concatenating and fetching out the values from the user table. Okay, so that is the thing. Anyways, we'll have a QA session afterwards, so let me just finish out this thing. Okay, so let me just clear out everything. Okay, so now let us just go with the automated manner of SQL injection. Okay, okay. So for performing this activity, we'll be using burp again. Okay, okay. And now let me just I've just configured out my burp. Okay, to intercept the request which is being forwarded out from this browser. Okay, So let me just quickly query up one. Okay, I just queried the user ID 1 and quickly submit that. Okay, I'm getting this up because the intercept is off over here. So let me just intercept it and query out this one. Okay, so here you can see that we got the request. So the request header, what it is saying is it is referring out to this particular URI. So let me just copy it out. Let me just paste it over here. Okay, and the cookies which it is using is this one. Okay, why we are copying out this cookies and why we are copying out this particular URI is because to use any tool we require a authenticated session. Okay, means the tool should not look out for the login page itself of that particular application. Okay, so for performing these activities we will be using this particular thing. Okay, so as you can see that currently we are logged in. Okay, currently we are logged in to this application. So what we did is we just it's just like we just steal out the cookies and we'll be implementing those cookies in our tool itself. Okay, now the tool which we'll be using is SQL map. Okay, so this is the tool, that is SQL map. If anyone wants to know about any tool in Kali, so you can go with the manual of it. Okay, just simply type man and space and then particular name of the particular tool or name of the particular command. If you type it, you can go with it. Okay, you can see all the things, whatever it supports, whatever switches it supports, and all those things, whatever options it supports. You can go with it. Apart from it, now what we are going to do is we'll be querying out SQL map and -u will be using, that is for URI. Which URL we want to provide it in the double quotes, we will be providing that URL. Okay, so this is the URL which we have provided up. And to tell this particular SQL map that it is an authenticated session, it is a genuine session, we'll be using out the cookies. Cookie, and this particular cookie value will be providing out. Okay, and now I'll be putting up -b to grab the banner of the database. Okay, to grab the particularly the banner of the database, and in the banner what I want is I want to just know the current database from where it is fetching out the value. What we did in the manual injection, simply we are doing up over here, we are just fetching out the current database of that application. Okay, and then hyphen current user we want to fetch out. So it is nothing like we are just putting up the long commands over here, we are just simply putting out the options which is supported by this particular tool. So we are querying out the current database and the current user which is using out this application. Okay, now we just need to hit enter and let us see like what we get. For the remaining test, do you want to include all the tests? No. So it'll take some time. Okay. So the banner it got is the 5.1.41, which we you saw, which we write a long command to fetch out that particular thing, and the user which we are getting is the root at the rate localhost, means root user running on the same server localhost, and the database is dbw, which we are getting it out over here. Okay. Now the next thing which we want to know is to obtain the username and password, okay, which we are pretty much interested of. Okay, so to do that thing, let us just quick figure out the particular command once again. Okay, and in this command what we are going to change up is this particular thing. Instead of grabbing up the banner, we'll be grabbing up the string. Okay, and string, and as we know that it was providing up the surname. Okay, without any injection or without any customized query, we are getting the surname by default. So string is equal to we are getting out surname. Okay, and with the surname we want to get out the username, users, and we want to fetch out the passwords. Okay, now let us see what we get. Okay, now as you can see that it is saying that the do you want to store the hashes? It got some hashes into temporary file, and do you want to perform out some dictionary based attack like what we did with using John the Ripper? Okay, so I'll type yes. Okay, so as you can see that PMA1 and the root 1 password hash is null, and it didn't fetched out any password. Okay, so what we have currently displayed is this is the database management system users which are able to access the database from that particular system. Okay, and here you can see that down it didn't fetch out any values. Okay, let me just run it once again. Let me just click on yes. It's not fetching out any values. Otherwise it should have cracked some values over here. Okay, PMA root. Okay, these are the databases which are present by using hyphen DBS, that is database system. Now let me just select hyphen D with dbwa, and I want to fetch out the tables. Okay, so here is the table, that is users. So else what we can do is we can use some different command sets. So here we are selecting out a database. First of all, what we did is we need to find out like which database, what all are the databases present in the system. Okay, so to do that we just queried out hyphen dbs, that is for the database systems which is present. So it just showed us the list of available databases. Now from this database I'll be selecting out, to select out anything we'll be putting the initial of that particular letter in the capital, and then we'll be selecting out that particular thing. Let's say I want to select out database, so I'll be putting hyphen d in caps. So hyphen dbwa we selected out. Okay, so you can see that we are getting out the same queries which we have typed up over there. So inside this database, what we want to fetch out is, tables. Okay, so there are two tables which are present, that is guest book and users. Okay, so we are pretty much interested in user table. So we'll be selecting out the tables, and the table name is users, and after that we want to fetch out the columns inside it. Okay, you can see that we are getting these columns inside the table, inside that particular table. Okay, now after this columns, what we are interested is we are interested in columns, and in the columns what we want is, we want the user, password. Okay, now it is asking which file you want to use for. So the default dictionary file I'll be using out. No. So as you can see that it is cracking out the passwords. Okay, it will take some time to crack out the passwords and it will give you the results. Those who haven't got this, I'll explain you once again because it was a bit tricky. Okay, so you can see that we got this users and password from the entire database with their MD5 hash and with their normal text value. You can see up over here. Okay, so this is the particular thing which I was trying to show you, like how we can use this automated manner and you can get out this value. So now let me explain you one by one once again, those who haven't got it out. So first of all, what we are means initially what we are doing is, we are from the banner itself we are getting out the current database and current user, but that thing didn't work out. Okay, but that thing didn't work out. So what we did is, I just queried out simple database, like what database system it is using, and I came to know like it is using this particular database system with two tables inside it. Okay, so this was the list of the databases which were available. Now after getting this list of the databases, I want this particular database to give me the value. So I issued a command that is selecting this particular database with dbwa, and I got this particular value, that is your two tables are present in this particular database. Now I'm pretty much interested in this particular user table. So in the user table, You can see I issued up this command. In the user, I want to fetch out for the columns. So anything which you want to fetch out, you will be putting up double hyphen as the prefix of it, and you will be selecting out the column. Okay, I just came to know, okay, like this particular table is having this much of columns. Now inside these columns, I am just interested in password and users. So I give up this command user, selecting this column as user comma password to select both the columns. And to select this out, after this I put up dump, means to dump these values inside that particular table. Once it started dumping, you can see that it gave me a warning message like, do you want to store the message means hashes of into the temporary file? So I clicked on yes. Okay, I want to store the hashes, whatever hashes you find out. And it is asking me, do you want to crack them via dictionary based attack? I said okay, you can crack it out. So after cracking this, by default dictionary which it is using is wordlist.zip, which is predefined in Kali. And then it started cracking, and once it started cracking, it find out these entries, these particular username and password to be cracked out. Okay, so that was the session about this particular SQL map automated injections. Okay, now another thing what we are going to do is we'll be having another vulnerability, that is your file upload. Okay, so let us go with that and see like how it used to work out. Okay, so anyways, after the last of this session we'll be having the QA session, so no worries, you can ask your doubts and queries over there. Okay, now I was just checking out like the people slept or people are still awake. Okay, so anyways, it seems to be boring, but this is how the manual penetration testing used to work, and this is how we used to test out the certain applications, like either it is leaking out some database or not. Okay, if you don't give up dump, it will give you an error like what to do. You have just selected out those things, then what you want to do after selecting out? Okay, you need to give the dump. Okay, this seems like people are still awake, the people are listening to it. Is it like a text file which is stored in the Kali Except? Yeah, same. It is a text file which is stored in the user temp, and there it will be stored up. It will give you the path also where it has been stored. Okay, okay. Now let us just go through with it. The file upload vulnerability. It is very much common and it is very much hazardous in whenever you are dealing with a web application. Okay. Why? Because let us suppose to give a very nice look to our application, we give a very much user interactive application where a user can upload the file. Okay, so once the user is upload the file, either the image file or some doc, PDF or anything. So what if a user uploads some malicious file or the file which is having some virus inside it, or the file which is having some ransomware? So how you can protect it for that, and how means you can check out for these particular vulnerabilities. So let us just try to see that. Okay, so first of all, let me just create a vulnerable file. Okay, and try to gain the access of this particular entire system. Okay, try to gain the access of the this particular server which is running out. Okay, so let me just create a file. Let me go to my desktop, and to create a file I'll be using MSF Venom. Okay, hyphen p. Okay, p is for payload. Okay, I'll explain you what MSF Venom is. It is entirely a different structure. It is entirely different a framework. We can have some session on MSF also, Metasploit framework, anytime after this. Okay. So as of now, I'll explain you briefly, but we can have a detailed session afterwards. Reverse TCP and the local host is 146. Let me just type out the command, then I'll just explain you what exactly it is doing out. I'll port, let's say, by default, and let me just write this file, image.php. Because many time even typing these commands, even I also used to do the same mistakes. So that's why I'm just first of all typing out the command, and then we can have the look. As you can see that I got some error. See, instead of putting the small p, I put up the capital. Okay, so finally we have built up our payload, image.php. Okay, fine. Now let me just try to explain you this command. Okay, so the command which we have typed up in our Kali machine is this one. Okay, MSF Venom, basically it is a part of the MSF framework only, just to create a payload without even opening up the MSF and without even getting the hard work done. So it is just a small part piece of MSF, your Metasploit framework. We can have a detailed session on it afterwards. Then what we are going to do is we are selecting out a payload from MSF, that is your PHP, Meterpreter and reverse TCP. Okay, so reverse TCP, it is we are selecting, and we are selecting the L host, the local host, that is our Kali machine's IP, and the port where it will be connecting it on 4444, and we are writing it out into the image.php as an entire payload. Okay, now what this particular L host and R host and this L port means is out, and the reverse TCP, the meterpreter and all those things. See, reverse TCP, basically what we are going to do is we will be sending this file image.php into the server, and it will try to connect us back. It will try to connect us back on this particular IP and on this particular port. Okay, and once it is try to connect it back, it will give us the privileges, and we are able to issue the system commands inside from the meterpreter itself. Okay, meterpreter is just as of your CMD or as of your console from where you can control the server. Okay, so that is what your this thing is. So we have created one file. Okay, let me just try to upload that file. Okay, before try to upload it. Okay, let me just have a look on that particular file, what that file is having. So let me just open it with LeapPad, and I can see. Okay, you can see that we are having this particular file. inside this system. It's not visible clearly. Okay, perfect. Now what we need to do is, whenever this file will be uploaded on that particular server, it will be connecting back to this Kali machine. So there must be something to handle that particular reverse connection. Okay, so to do that, we'll be again launching our MSF console. Okay, it will take some time to load because it is a heavy framework. Okay, so it is Metasploit framework, and we'll be launching this framework. And inside this framework, what we are going to do is, we'll be using a handler, okay, to handle that particular connection which it will be giving us back. Okay, so let it be loaded first, then we can see like how to do that. Okay, so it is loaded. We are into MSF console. Okay, so now I'll be using up a particular handler. So use exploit multi handler. Okay, so as I've selected the multi handler. Okay, those who are not aware of these particular commands, so we can have a session later on this MSF, and then you will come to know. Okay, so now again I'll be setting up the same payload which we have set it up. If you press tab, it will again hang out because it will keep on searching out whatever starts with P. So I just pressed out tab, so it just hanged out. So php/interpreter, then reverse TCP. So this is the payload which we'll be using. We can check out for the options, what all options it support. Show options. So L port, it is already set to 4444. You just need to set the L host, that is our local host, 192.168.182.146. Okay, now if we check out for the options, you can see that all the things have been set it up. Okay, now we can run exploit. Okay, now our reverse TCP handler is running out. Okay, now let us just try to upload that particular file. Okay, now just try to upload this particular file into the application. Okay, you can see that it has been uploaded to hackable/upload. It is showing out this thing. Okay, so let me just copy out this particular path. Okay, now what if you don't know the path? How you can find out? Okay, the file is uploaded. How you can find out the path? Okay, so this thing I'll tell you like how to you can find out the path where it has been uploaded. Okay, you can see that it has been uploaded over here, and this is our payload session which is running out. Okay, let me just click on it and let me just see like what we get it up over here. You can see that we got the interpreter session over here. Okay, so once we got the interpreter session, we can have the shell. Okay, it will take some time to get the shell, and we'll be directly inside the server itself. Okay, we are in server itself. Now let us check out for the uptime. Okay, you can see that I'm inside the server and I'm able to check out for the I'm inside the particular server only. Okay, and I can check out for each and everything inside that particular server. Okay, if you want me to turn off the server, even I can do that. Power off, simple. And this particular machine, without even touching it out, will be turned off. Okay, so let us not just do that. Let me just check out for which privileges I am running on this machine. Okay, I'm running with nobody, so that is your nobody privileges. It is running on. Okay, so this is how, I mean, I just want to show you like how you can upload the file and how you can need to be rooted. No present password. So for this thing we need to have the privilege escalation session, so that we can have it later somewhere. Okay, so yeah, so what I can do is we can have a we can make a particular file. Let's say, let me make it out a file echo hacked by the sessioner session. Okay, and let me just write it to hack.html. Okay, as we are running it with a live CD, so we cannot write it out over here. Okay, so that is the main thing. Otherwise, we are inside the server, we can perform anything over here. Okay, so that is how that was all about this particular session of how you can upload the file and how you can fetch out for the vulnerabilities and all those things. So if you have any doubts or if you have any queries, you can ask me up now. So this completes up our entire session of 2 days related to these vulnerabilities, the common vulnerabilities which are present. Okay, in the next session we can have some detailed views. So if you have any doubts, anyone, you can ask me out, or else we can bind up the session. Okay, the name of my blog. So that was the doubt. Okay, that was really good. Okay, we have some more doubts. How many? Okay, how do you upload a shell when the DTW is set to impossible? So see, for that thing we need to pass the shell using the request headers. Okay, either there are two ways to do that. Either you can use nmap upload script to pass the shell entirely into the request header, or what we can do is we can use the curl. It's a very nice tool, the curl, to pass the thing into the upload directory itself. Okay, now how the one more thing which was left was like how you will check out for the directory. Okay, if the particular thing has been uploaded, then how you will be checking out. Okay, here it give us the path like it has been uploaded to this, but how you will check out like how where it has been uploaded in the real-time scenarios. So there is one tool that is directory buster, and directory buster you just need to provide the URL to it, and it will just check out like from which particular directory is having the upload permissions, okay, or which particular directory is open up. So you can use that, and similarly we have different tools also to perform such activities. Okay, I can. Okay, how you can bypass the file upload protection. That's what I told you. There is not a single way of uploading a file, either by means here it is giving on the here it is provided up by the application itself. But what if within the request header itself you can pass out some queries and you can upload the file itself? There is one script, file upload script by Nmap NSC, and Nmap scripting engine which it provides you. So that one you can use to gather out and to fetch out the means to provide the file, and it will directly upload it there. Okay, any other doubts you are having? Yeah, I'll definitely share out this session. How we can put shell in some other file format like image. Yeah, there are various technique like as I yesterday we saw one technique of delimiters we can use. Delimiters basically after completion of one statement it will execute the another statement. So definitely we can have similarly after one extension we can have another extension. So we can have a single code. Then let's say we are having a file name, let's say abhishek.jpg. I can have abhishek.jpg, and then after that I can have .png or dot something, .php or dot something, or even after that semicolon .php. Like that we can try out with different methods. If upload is set only for JPG or PNG, how do I embed the shell in those extension and upload it on the server? So for those things, as I told you, like we are having different uh, binder tools, okay, and different encryptors and different frameworks which are available, okay. That are various high, and there are various high-end frameworks which are available, such as your wheel and all, which is used to encrypt the particular file in a very high-end encryption, and it will not be detected by any of the antivirus or signature engines, and it will be directly uploaded. Okay, so this was the thing. So any doubts, any other guys you are having any other doubts? So this is my blog, you can visit out, and today's recording also will be posting up over here, and the initial recording we have already posted up, you can see up over here. So I'm sharing you the link also. So any other doubts guys, or we will just bind up this session? Okay, so no doubts from SQL injection or anything? Okay, thank you Arjun, thanks a lot, and do share the feedback on the group itself. Okay, and please do like and comment on the YouTube channel itself. Thank you, thanks for watching, and thanks for having such a patience. Okay, so we'll bind up here. Thank you.
Hello, Abhishek.
Yeah.
So please could you share this recording with us?
Yeah, sure. I'll definitely share it out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.